Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
The Nordic countries are places like Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. Today, these countries are often among the best in the world. They rank very high in many important areas. For example, they are known for how good life is for people, which is called human development. They are also known for how free their countries are, known as democracy. People in these countries are often quite rich, showing high wealth per person. And many reports and surveys show that people living there feel very happy. Because of these things, the Nordic countries are often at the top for human development, democracy, wealth, and happiness compared to other countries. This makes many people ask an important question. Why are the Nordic countries so successful today? This is interesting because they were not always like this. A long time ago, in the 19th century, they were more like other countries in Europe at that time. They were not seen as special global leaders. But by the 21st century, they have become models for many other nations around the world. They are seen as leaders for how to build a good country and a strong society that benefits many people. This story will look closely at how they made this big change over the past 200 years or so. It will explain their journey. We will learn how they went from being average countries in the 19th century to being some of the best and most respected in the world today. We will explore the key steps, the choices they made, and the reasons for their high rankings and success. Let's be clear about which specific countries we mean in this story. When we talk about the Nordic countries here, we are focusing on Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway, and Sweden. These 5 countries are the main ones we will discuss. It is important to know that sometimes in the past, some of these countries were ruled by others. For instance, Norway was part of Sweden for a time. Finland was part of the Russian Empire before it became independent. And Iceland was part of Denmark for a long period. But even with these times of being separate or under different rule, their histories are deeply connected. For many hundreds of years, they have been close neighbors in Northern Europe. They share some culture and history, and their people have often moved between the countries. They have traded with each other and often found ways to work together. Their past experiences, even when they were different, have often influenced and shaped each other in important ways over time. So, this first chapter introduces what the story is about. It is about the notable success of the Nordic countries and how they became like they are today. We will explore the reasons for their high rankings in the world and look at their path over time, starting from a long time ago. 2. A different start. Around the year 1850, industrialization began in the Nordic countries. Denmark started first and others followed. But the way industrialization happened here was not like in many other places in Europe at that time. In Europe, there was often a small group of powerful people, like nobles and rich traders. Most people were farmers who worked for these powerful families. These farmers did not own the land they worked on. When factories started, these farmers often became workers in factories owned by the nobles or rich people. But the Nordic countries developed in another way. The land itself made it hard for nobles to have total power. If you were a noble trying to control an area, it was difficult. In other countries, nobles could control ports, city gates, and roads to collect money from people. But in the Nordic lands, people could cut down trees, build a boat, and sail away on the sea. If a noble asked for too much money, people could simply leave and live somewhere else. Also, if people lived far from the coast, in the forests or mountains, it was often too hard for nobles to send soldiers to collect taxes. Because of this, Nordic nobles could not become as strong as the nobles in many other places. Farmers in the Nordic countries did not have to give everything they made to a local lord. They could keep what they grew or made. This led to a large group of people who owned their own land. They were independent farmers. They were not poor, and they had their own businesses basically. If a noble wanted to have control or get support from these farmers, they could not just use force. Instead, they had to give something to the farmers. The nobles or the government had to provide services or help so the farmers would stay and support them. This created a new idea. The government was not just a tool for the rich or the nobles to stay in power. Instead, the government had to serve the people to get their support and stay strong. With many people owning land and having a say in how things worked, the government became a tool used by the people to make things better for everyone. This was a very important difference for the future of these countries. 3. Using rich lands. The lands in Nordic countries were full of helpful natural things. For example, there were large forests in Finland, Norway, and Sweden. These forests gave a lot of wood, which was used for timber and paper. Sweden had large amounts of iron deep in the ground. The seas around Norway and Iceland were full of fish. These countries also had good ways to make energy. Denmark could use wind power. Finland, Sweden, and Norway used water power from rivers, hydropower. Iceland used heat from the earth, geothermal energy. These natural resources were very important for their economies. To use these resources well, governments built important things to help businesses. They invested money in building train lines and roads. These things helped businesses move the wood, iron, and fish from where they were found. They could move them to ports or factories, or to places where they could be used or sent away to other countries. This was important because building all this infrastructure was expensive and hard for private companies alone. The government helped new industries grow by providing these necessary connections. However, the Nordic countries did not have many people living there at that time. Their populations were quite small compared to larger European nations. This meant there were not enough customers inside the countries to buy all the products that could be made from these resources. Selling only to local people would not make the businesses very profitable. So, the Nordic countries decided to trade a lot with other countries. They made their economies very open for buying and selling internationally. They started selling their natural resources to bigger countries that needed them. Countries like Germany and Great Britain were good customers because they had many factories and growing populations. The Nordic countries sent their wood, like timber, pulp, and paper, from the forests. They sent iron from the mines in Sweden. They sent fish from the seas near Norway and Iceland. They also sent energy. These big industrial countries bought the raw materials needed for their own factories. In return, The Nordic countries bought manufactured goods from these countries. They bought things that were already made in factories abroad, like tools, machines, and other products they did not make themselves yet. This trade helped the Nordic countries earn money and get things they needed for their own development. As farming became easier with new tools, fewer people were needed to work on farms. Many people moved to work in places that used the natural resources. They worked in forests cutting wood, in mines digging for iron, or in plants processing fish and food. Selling natural resources helped the Nordic economies grow strongly for some time. But by the late 1800s, around the end of the 19th century, this growth started to slow down. It was harder to find more resources easily, and it was harder to find many more new workers for these industries. The natural resource industries were strong, but they were reaching limits. This situation meant the Nordic countries needed new ways to grow their economies next. 4. Making and selling more. After some time, the industries that used natural resources did not grow so fast. Things like farming technology stopped improving quickly. This meant fewer people moved from farms to work in mines or forests. It became harder to find new workers for these jobs. Selling just wood or fish was not enough to make the countries much richer anymore. So, the Nordic countries needed a new plan to keep their economies growing. They decided to make things themselves instead of just selling raw materials. They would turn their resources into finished products. For example, Denmark produced a lot of food from its farms and started making processed foods. Sweden had much iron and began to focus on making steel products. They did not try to make everything. They focused on making special products that were worth more money. These were often high quality or more complex things to build. Making products like these was more expensive in other countries, so the Nordic countries could sell them well. Many important Nordic companies we know today started around this time, making these new, more valuable products. Their open economies helped them sell these manufactured goods. They exported these products to countries far away. This was important because the Nordic countries had small populations, not enough customers at home. Also, trade between the Nordic countries became much easier. It was simpler and faster to buy and sell things to each other. People also started to move more easily between these countries. For example, many Swedes moved to Norway and Denmark looking for work. This movement of people helped trade too. When people moved, they sometimes wanted products from their home country. This helped businesses sell goods to their own people living abroad and also helped introduce these products to the new country. This easier trade and movement helped all the economies in the region. When one Nordic country was doing well and sold a lot, it often bought more products from the other Nordic countries. This created a positive cycle. More prosperity in one country helped the others, making everyone's economy stronger together. An important idea started during this time, which became a key part of their success. When the economy faced problems or crises, many countries around the world tried to protect their own businesses by stopping or limiting trade with others. But the Nordic countries did the opposite. They decided to open their markets even more to foreign trade. This helped them keep trading and selling their goods, even when times were hard globally. This strategy helped them face economic difficulties better than some other nations. This major shift from selling raw materials to making and selling finished goods, focusing on quality, increasing trade within the region, and opening markets in hard times, was a big step for the Nordic countries. It was important for their economies to grow and change in this way. 5. Working together. As more people stopped being farmers and started working in factories or other jobs, they became employees. These employees needed better pay and working conditions, so they formed groups called unions. Unions worked together to ask for better treatment and pay from the companies they worked for. The people who owned the companies also organized. They formed groups too. These groups of employers could talk to the unions. This was important because now large groups of workers could talk to large groups of employers. In many countries, workers and employers often fought, but in the Nordic countries, something different happened. The government, the worker unions, and the employer groups started working together. This was a special kind of cooperation. They did not see each other as enemies. Instead, they tried to help each other to make the country better for everyone. The government listened to the employers. Employers knew a lot about how the economy worked. This helped the government make smart rules and laws for businesses. The government also listened to the workers and their unions. They made sure that employees had good working conditions and fair treatment. When these three groups worked together, everyone got more benefits. One way this worked was through taxes. People paid high taxes, but this money was used to pay for good services for everyone. For example, the government paid teachers well. This meant good people wanted to become teachers. Because of this, the schools were very good. Good schools meant young people learned a lot and got good skills. These skilled young people became good workers. Companies could hire these well-trained workers, which helped the companies be more productive. When companies were more productive, they made more money. They could pay their skilled workers higher salaries. When workers earned more money, they paid more taxes. This cycle helped fund more good services like better schools, roads, and help for people who needed it. This way of working together, with government, workers, and employers cooperating, created a cycle where everyone became better off. It helped create a new way of building the economy in the early part of the 20th century. Policies were put in place, like laws for good worker safety and rules to help sell products to other countries. This idea started in one Nordic country, Sweden, and then other Nordic countries started using it too after World War I. 6. Help for everyone. After World War II, the Nordic countries built strong systems to help people. Before, some help like money when you were old or sick came from private companies. You paid them when you worked and they paid you back later. But if you did not have enough money, you got no help. Workers and employers had organizations. These groups talked to the government. They asked for a new system. In this new system, everyone could get help from the government, no matter how much money they had. Iceland started a universal pension system in 1946. The other countries started similar systems soon after. Over time, the systems grew. By the 1960s, they offered many things. People got free health care when they were sick. Children could go to free schools. Poor people could get help with housing. There was money if you lost your job or if you were too sick to work. People with disabilities also got help. The big goal was to make things more equal. They wanted to reduce the big differences between people who had a lot and people who had little. The Nordic countries saw this help system as an investment. An investment means you put money into something now, and it helps you get more good things later. They believed helping people was an investment in the country's future. When people are healthy, well-educated, and do not worry about losing their home or not having money when they are old, they can work better. They become more productive. For example, if parents get time off work to be with a new baby, the child is happier and does better later. This child is less likely to be poor in the future. People who are not stressed about money problems can focus on learning new skills or starting a business. When they are more productive, they earn more money. When they earn more, they pay more taxes. These taxes help pay for the schools, doctors, and help systems for everyone else. It is a cycle that helps the whole country. This system is different from some others. In some countries, you get less help if you earn more money. This can stop people from trying to get a better job. In other countries, you might get help only if you worked a lot before. The Nordic system helps everyone, no matter your income or if you worked much. This means your health and education do not depend on how rich your family is. People can take risks, like studying something new or starting a company, because they know the government will help if things go wrong. This system makes people more able to improve their lives, which benefits society. 7. New ideas and good schools. In the 1970s and 1980s, Nordic countries faced a problem. People's salaries were not growing much. It was hard for workers to earn more money. To solve this, these countries decided to focus on making products that used new technology. They wanted to make things that were of very good quality. This meant finding new ideas and making new things became very important. They put a lot of effort into research. Finding new things is often risky. If you try a new idea, it might not work. The Nordic welfare system, which helped everyone with things like healthcare and money if they lost their job, also helped here. It made it less scary for people to start new businesses or try new inventions. If their idea failed, they knew they would still have support. This reduced the risk for people who wanted to be entrepreneurs and create something new. Good schools were also a big part of the plan. Education was something Nordic countries cared about for a long time. They spent a lot of money on schools and universities. People often stayed in school longer compared to some other countries. For example, the average age for students in college was higher. This good education gave people the skills they needed for the new technology jobs. Companies needed smart, trained workers to make high-tech products. The schools provided these skilled people. So the focus on new ideas, the support from the welfare system that lowered risk, and the excellent education system worked together. People felt safe to try new things. They had the knowledge and skills from school. This mix helped these countries become leaders in technology. It helped their economies grow and created more wealth. They started making complex products instead of just selling raw materials. This focus on innovation and educated workers became a key part of their success. 8. What next and why they are rich? The Nordic countries are rich today because of several important reasons. These reasons are like strong parts that support their whole country. One important part is their government. From the beginning, governments had to help people to get support. They built things like roads and railways to help businesses. So the government became a tool for the people to improve their lives and economy. Trading with other countries is another important part. They always kept their markets open to sell goods and buy what they needed. They sold natural resources first, then products they made themselves, focusing on high-quality goods. They made trade easy even when other countries did not. This helped their businesses grow and sell things globally. Working together is also key. Groups of workers and groups of business owners talk with the government. They work together to make decisions about the economy and jobs. This helps keep things fair and stable for everyone. This cooperation between government, workers, and employers is special in the Nordic countries. A very big reason for their wealth is the help for everyone. They have a strong system where everyone gets services like good schools, health care, and money if they cannot work. This universal help makes people feel safer and reduces the difference between rich and poor. When people have less worry about health or money, they can be more creative and work harder. The system sees this help as an investment in people, making them more productive. The country also puts a lot of money into education and new technology. Good schools give people the skills needed for high-tech jobs, helping companies make valuable products. This practical way of helping almost everyone has been very successful. It has made the Nordic countries wealthy and a good place to live. Most people have a high standard of living. However, they also face problems. It is difficult to stop some rich people from moving their money to avoid taxes in other countries, partly because money moves easily. Also, more people are getting old, and there are fewer young people working to pay for all the services for the elderly. The Nordic countries need to find ways to change and keep their system working well in the future. Their story shows that a country becomes rich by investing in its people. Giving people good help and education helps them become more skilled and productive. When people are supported, they help the whole country become wealthier. The Nordic model lifted almost everyone up. Now, thinking about what we learned, what lessons from the Nordic journey do you find most interesting for other nations?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.